YouTube channel for the wide nation of sports by Hunter Tickle. Hit that subscribe button.
What's going on, ladies and gents? This is Hunter Tickle. I'm your host. This is the 19th episode of Wide Nation of Sports. Thanks for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button as that prompt just told you, and we will get running. Alright guys, I've been rewatching some recent games, kind of trying to catch up here with a baby I'm juggling as well, a 1-year-old. Shout out to Malachi. So let's get right into it. Last night, Wednesday night, let me get it right, was New Year's Day night. I know, sounds not straightforward, but it was the night of New Year's Day. And we had a dandy of a matchup in Holman Center. Didn't get the chance to make it out for that. Hopefully soon I get to return to Holman Center. You had a dandy between the league favorite Bradley and Indiana State. And before I kind of break that down, let me give you all some context for what we're looking at between these two teams. They're both 2-0 coming into the Missouri Valley, thick of the season, the meat of the season as I like to call it. So great starts. Kind of was definitely expected for the Braves. The Sycamores, maybe not so much if you all remember. They were coming off of losing all 5 starters, none of whom were seniors, and their head coach. So you figure a rebuilding year, different talent, different veterans coming in. The transfer portal sort of helps this, but also sort of hurts it when you consider all 5 starters hit the portal. But they did lose 2 reserve players. So literally last year, the Sycamores had 7 guys for most games that they'd rolled out. They're all gone, and so was the coach who coached them. So you got a clean slate here. You got a new regime with Matthew Graves at the Liege, and the Braves, they brought back almost everybody. They did lose Connor Hickman to Cincinnati, but when you look what they had coming back, you look what they brought in, with a name that we all know, Zeke Montgomery, back from Rhode Island after he'd spent a season there, was formerly with the Braves the year before that. And they got a pretty loaded squad. They got a squad that was undoubtedly the favorite, clearly the favorite. They picked up 46 of 49 first-place votes in the media poll, this preseason media poll. That's a lot. They also picked up 597 votes as the top vote getter. And to put that in context with you, that's 390 more than the Sycamores, who got 207 points and were picked 8th in the Valley. So if you think of it, basically the Braves were projected to almost triple the output. They would need, 17 odd more points to triple what the Sycamores got in the preseason. So it's sort of a matchup that maybe you thought would go kind of in the way of a heavy favorite versus a super underdog. Well, it didn't work out that way, folks, and that's why they always say what? That's why you play the game. So in this matchup, you had Zeke Montgomery again balling out. Last time he was inside Holman Center with the Braves 2 years ago. One of my first days on the beat, he dropped 18 points. That was a career high for him then. All in the second half as he just kind of went to work, went to town on the Sycamores as the Braves escaped. Didn't really escape. They really soundly beat the Sycamores then, who probably were favored going into that matchup. They beat the Sycamores on the road, and that was a game that, Zeke was, he was great. And again today, he came into the Holman Center, and what did he do? He straight balled. He had a great game, had a great second half. I watched about the last 10 minutes as well as overtime, and he had some critical stretches in there to help BU kind of keep the ship moving and just really be someone that was kind of an anchor for them. And like I said, that the last time he came to Holman, which was in the mid-January of 2023. And he did that today with Christian Davis fouling out late in the game, and then Darius Hannah, another really quality returner for them. Both those guys are. He also fouled out. But, this is a big but, guys, you had guys like the cousin of James Smith, a.k.a. LL Cool J, Jaden Daughtry, just coming in and just hammering it. He was great. When he got the rock, you really felt like the Sycamores were playing with purpose. He was screening a lot for the on-ball action. He was spinning the lane when he got the rock. He was rolling to the 10 after setting a screen to get some pick and roll going. And he was also handling the rock with really just a lot of confidence. Confidence you didn't necessarily see his freshman year, but now as a sophomore, he looks like he knows what he's doing. Looks like he's just so assured of each movement. I expect, as we've already seen already from the reserve for the Sycamores, he's made a big leap, and hopefully that keeps going for the gentleman. I'm proud of him. You just kind of feel happy for a guy like that who was a sophomore, probably could have gone and played for a lot of teams after he got some run last year with the Sycamore, especially during when there were some injuries. He definitely was, I would say, easily the top freshman performer for the Sycamores. But, he stayed pat. He's back in Terre Haute, and he's balling. And then you had another guy coming in, Samaje Teal, who came from the Presbyterian Bluehost. He's been having a great year. He's already won 3 Newcomers of the Weeks in the Missouri Valley Conference. He's doing well. He's a senior, so this will be his last go-around. But in my mind, Samaje Teal might be easily like a top 5 player in the Valley. We'll have to see kind of where that trajectory goes. Like I said, I haven't got to see the Sycamores play a ton, but it is now Valley season, and now is when it counts. Now is when you get the seed. Now is when you get the bye. Now is when you start developing that rapport for that late season push. So Bradley was trailing by 4 in the closing minutes of the regulation, but they just kept hitting threes. They were able to erase that deficit. And then I'm going to take you right to the action with 20 seconds left. Montgomery, Zeke, he rose up on the left wing, threw up an air ball. 20 seconds left. His team was up 3, and he missed the 3. All right? Who gets the air ball? Who gets that rebound? Teal, he gets the rebound, quickly looks up. Kemp Wagner, who had been defending Zeke on that play, leaked out. He's got 10, 20 feet up court on the right wing on his man, Zeke. And as he caught it, he pump faked as Montgomery tried to recover. And that pump fake allowed him to step back. Montgomery still recovered again to get a hand in his face after that clutch. And it opened up a pretty decent but still contested look. It almost looked like Zeke was about to foul him. He didn't, but he was that tight as glue on him at that point. And that look was buried. So really clutch 3 from Kemp Wagner. The guy from Rice, the sophomore, he played really well in this game. And as I said, that outlet pass Teal made from under his basket all the way up to the right wing to Camp was really opportune. And it allowed the Sycamores to not have to call a timeout and just kind of let it flow, let it play. Looking like maybe that might be Matthew Graves' strategy to just kind of, you get a chance to get a 3 to tie it up or in the open action, which is smart. They're down 3. They can't get a layup. They need a 3-point look. You got it. He wasn't double teamed. It wasn't forced. He didn't really have to draw anything up, and that's always kind of a good moment. It also didn't allow Bradley to foul him. If they foul him, he's getting 3 free throws. So I know a lot of times there's pro coaches and college coaches that kind of pick and choose whether or not you'd foul him a 3. Well, that wasn't going to open up just kind of based on this being in transition. And then, with about 9.8 seconds left, Bradley had the ball, and some tight D, some pressure from the Sycamores made sure that the Braves didn't get off a shot. They literally did not get off a shot. Had 10 seconds on the final look at the game. Any kind of look would win it if it went in, and they didn't even get a shot up. All right, so we fast forward to overtime now. This game's headed to overtime. About 2:43 left. You had a pair of Teal free throws for the Sycamores to go up 7. And then unfortunately, you got some deja vu happening here. Felt a lot like you were kind of watching a little bit. Completely different players, but same team. Of the Sycamores floundering by settling for 3s late. And that happened last year, as all those Sycamore fans know, happened in this championship game of the NIT against Seton Hall. Well, the Sycamores were hoisting 3s. They weren't falling. They didn't score again. And at one point, JD was in transition, had a decent chance to kind of maybe take one more dribble or one more step and go up for a left-handed layup. And instead, he dished it out to the outside. And then that led to 2 more 3-point misses. And the Sycamores, like I said, 2:43 was their last field goal. You're not going to win many games like that when you don't score, and even with a 7-point lead. And the Sycamores had one more chance at the end of the game to win it, but they back ironed from deep, and that was following a turnover that they committed. So that was the Sycamores. Really exciting game, and felt like there was some energy in the building from what I saw on the ESPN Plus telecast. Definitely surprised me. I thought that Bradley would be one of the harder teams that ISU saw in the Holman Center this year. Maybe that's going to be Drake, but I don't think there's really anyone else that can hold a candle to those teams just based off of some of the results and just kind of the talent on some of these rosters. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but it was really interesting to see the Sycamores really somewhat of a shocker to see them play so well against a team that was, like I said, a prohibited favorite in the league. Definitely bodes well for these Sycamores. I know they've been through some struggles through the non-conference, but this is the time of the season where you want to start peaking. This is the time of the season where you want to start getting into a rhythm, into a flow. And it seems like that's happening now. And this game, losing in overtime to Bradley, maybe it ignites a fire under them. Like they feel like they should have won that. They kind of coughed it up. We'll see. But it does tell you that they're in the running, that they're right there, and that, come Arch Madness, really all that matters for all these teams in the Valley, all 11 teams, is that, all 12, is that are you going to go there and win the league, the auto bid? Because I'm pretty sure, based off of what we've seen in recent years, it's probably a one-bid league. You could throw maybe Drake in there as a team that could possibly contend for an at-large bid. That's for another story and another day. But I will say that really what matters in this conference is winning the conference tournament. And if the Sycamores can get a decent seed, build up some confidence, build up some swagger going into that, you just never know. And I think this game is kind of indicative of that. They're going to have to do it on a neutral site or maybe down the road here moving forward a little bit. But 2-1 start. This was Matthew Gray's first Valley loss. It's got to bode well for them, got to give them some confidence. They really should be 3-0 at this point based off of what we saw from that game. And that does it for my take on the Indiana State Sycamores for today. Another game I just recently watched, this went back probably about a week earlier than when this podcast was recorded. But I watched UConn versus Butler in the Big East. They played at Hinkle. Some notes that I want to share with you, some of my scribbles that I want to share from you from that game. I saw a couple of teams there that were maybe heading in different directions. Butler did give them a good fight. UConn did end up winning that game. But I did see some life from the Bulldogs. You got the big man Andre Screen, who I thought was really strong on both ends of the floor. He's a traditional big man. I love me some of that. I love a back-to-the-basket guy. I love a rim protector. Two things that you feel like you don't hear in basketball anymore. Someone in the post and someone who can swat shots. But that's exactly what you got with Andre Screen. He's also kind of got the old school look with the glasses, kind of like Robbie Avila, the spectacles that he wears during games. He had an instance in this game in Hinkle where he had back-to-back swats on the same possession in succession, and then he chased down the second one and saved it to a teammate as he barreled over the sideline. So really cool, really moves well, really good effort, really good just like, I don't care if I stumble over this chair that's, basically at my ankles because he's like a 7-footer. And was just going for it. And like I said, doing it at both ends of the floor, which you don't really see even in college game, like a guy having that much activity and that much energy and stamina. He also had great footwork in the post on offense. He threw in one of those old Kareem Abdul-Jabbar hooks. You don't see that much these days, but he did it coming up from the left block and going across the lane and throwing a little righty hook. Scott hook. And then he also deflected an entry pass that resulted in a Butler theft later on. So really just good stuff from that guy. Screen. You need keeping an eye on him moving forward. And then a thing I really loved about this matchup between these Big East sides was a rarity that you rarely get to see, even at the pro level, even in college, which was this. It was the two best players on each team, Butler and UConn, matching up for the entirety of the game. I'm talking about Alex Caravan from UConn, the Huskies, and Telefort from the Bulldogs, matching up on the wing. They're matching up on top of the arc. Sometimes Telefort brought the ball down the court, was handling the rock. There was points when they were trading baskets, but to see them going at each other on both ends, really fun, really cool to watch. Like I said, I don't feel like you get to see that a ton. And they weren't even switching either. When someone screened them, they made sure they fought through that pick and got back on them. Another thing that's kind of an anomaly, which is refusing to switch and staying on your man. And at several points, it wasn't just catch and shoot for those guys. They were doing a lot of initiating their offenses. So that was cool to see. Excited to see what kind of happens with those squads moving forward. UConn seemed to have recovered from losing 3 in Maui, and Butler hasn't been to the tournament in a while, hasn't been dancing. Eager to see what they do down the stretch in the Big East.
We got a great guest here today. He's the third-year coach at University of Evansville for their men's basketball squad. He's a former player at University of Southern Indiana. He's also did his time as well as an assistant in the college ranks. David Ragland, how we doing, Coach?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing great. It's great to have you. Always good to have
Thanks for having me.
Midwest coaches and Indiana coaches on here. I wanted to start with the new year is coming up here in a couple of days. You got to have some memories of playing basketball for Southern Indiana around the New Year holiday. Maybe it was Christmas holiday. Anything you can tell me about playing around the holiday season?
I've got a couple. I actually started my playing career at Missouri Southern State College, which is in Joplin, Missouri. And I do remember one year we played a tournament in Puerto Rico, and we had roughly 48 hours to get home and spend time with our family. And I remember the first time spending Christmas in the airport where I had to sleep overnight to finally get back home. So I have a lot of memories of holidays, especially Thanksgiving and Christmas, being away from family. Whether it's playing or traveling.
Mm-hmm.
When I played at USI, we were in Vegas one year, away from family, and just always traveling, always on the go. It's the life of a basketball player, life of a basketball coach. I'm definitely not complaining. There's a reason why they call it Feast Week now during Thanksgiving, and you have a decent amount of tournaments around Christmas too. So it's a fun time.
And guys, like I said, we got David Ragland on here, coach of University Evansville men's basketball. They're coming off a 57-40 win over Missouri State in their last conference game there in the Missouri Valley. Coach, I wanted to touch on this. So I know you were an assistant. You did a lot of time at several programs in Indiana and around the area, as well as Indiana State. Can you tell me kind of maybe how much you've seen kind of the climate of college basketball shift maybe in the last decade or, couple of decades? I mean, I know, for instance, Jim Larinaga leaving Miami of, the U, retiring. I know that's probably a weight on a lot of people's minds. That's kind of like a hot topic right now, but
right.
Anything you can tell me from your perspective of kind of like maybe how things were in the early 2010s versus what you're looking at now with some of that?
It's changed a lot. It's changed a lot. I used to be, at Vincent University and Frank Phillips College that are junior colleges, and the turnover in rosters was the norm. Like you knew that you may have some guys for 2 years. Sometimes you have guys for 1 year, but you knew your team was going to be different every single year. Where when I first went to Indiana State, I was there for 4 years, and we had guys that were there for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that you saw mature from their freshman year to sophomore year, junior, and senior. And then there were some guys that when I got there, the previous staff had redshirting that was their 5th year.
Mm-hmm.
And those times are not the same. Young people, being patient on the progression. The theory of a bunch of freshmen playing early has just come about in probably the last 10 years, they used to have JV teams, and that
Mm-hmm.
was even ahead of my time.
Yep.
You used to know, like, freshman year, we probably won't play it a lot. Sophomore year, maybe a little bit. Junior, senior year, it are the times that you were going to get on the
Mm-hmm.
court, and the patience for young people to have that, progression, the proper progression, whenever you mature, mentally, physically, all those things just isn't the same. And then whenever you throw in the collective and NIL and
Mm-hmm.
transfer portal and guys being able to switch schools every single year, it's getting muddier and muddier. It's going from collegiate sports and even institutions like are for young people to progressively get better, um, add hours in terms of your credits, your education to prepare you to for a long-term success. And now,
Mm-hmm.
you're seeing guys leaving from one school to another. You're not seeing that same just state of college,
Mm-hmm.
the college experience, for students, the student athletes have just changed a ton, and it's went from collegiate sports to now pro sports
Mm-hmm.
without the proper parameters around it, and everyone's trying to figure it out without the proper guardrails, and it's just hopefully to get figured out soon. It's a bit messy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel for a lot of people. I feel for parents. I feel for the student athletes. I feel for coaches,
Yep.
administrators, stakeholders. I mean, there's so many people that are involved that are trying to problem solve, and it's just a bit hectic right now.
And last year, you guys went, pretty big jump for you. I mean, you got in the
Right.
saddle really late for that first year. I remember you
Yeah.
got in really late. So that first year wasn't really a first year. It was kind of almost like a half
Right.
year for you in terms of when you got in, and
Yeah.
getting the full cycle was year two for you. You guys go
Correct.
17 and 18, won a postseason game in the CBI, won a game in the Valley tournament.
Yeah.
It really increased your win total in the league. And obviously, you saw it firsthand. You had a guy go to Nevada. You had a guy after that. You had a guy go as well to Illinois, and then you also had a guy go to Seton Hall.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah.
is there a solution, or do you have anything you want to dish about maybe like a potential solution for what these things look like?
I mean, it'd be great to have multi-year contracts, and then in order to opt out of that multi-year contract, you can there's a buyout to it. That would be one way to do it.
Hmm.
Uh, at the end of the day, we're now dealing in pro sports, so let's have pro type contracts. And right now we don't have that. You see that, people are trying to go after Coach Hamilton, saying that he promised them, X amount of dollars. If it's in a contract, then there's no, back and forth like that.
Hmm.
So
It's those
having
guardrails you spoke of. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
having contracts, having multi-year contracts, having buyouts to them would really really help. Again, it's just about having guardrails. That way, there's a clear understanding of, hey, this is how it goes, and if you do this one thing, here's a result of that decision,
Right.
and then everyone's under the same understanding, under the same um, just we're all on the same page.
Hmm.
And right now it's all over the map, and um, there's just no clear understanding of here's how things should go.
I remember last year when I was on the beat at Indiana State, covering them for the Tribune Star. Even
Hmm.
like when you guys came to Holman Center in Terre Haute, or
Yeah,
when the Sycamores traveled to you guys at U of E, it
yeah,
definitely felt like you guys had a really close bunch, even your team. And that's what
yeah,
surprised me so much was you still guys had a huge roster turnover, even though you guys felt almost like a family.
yeah,
So I guess sometimes it just I guess just sometimes the dollar, the situation to go to another school just kind of trumps all
Oh,
that.
no doubt. I mean, yeah, if you don't know for sure, what's the best opportunity that you'll ever have, like I mean, some folks are making, you know, $500,000. Like, how can you say no to that? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
don't know when your moment is your moment,
Mm-hmm.
So you can be really, really close, and I still talk to most of those guys now. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I've learned to appreciate each moment. I'm gonna appreciate this team as much as I can. Win, lose, no matter what. Like I'm gonna appreciate them and do what I've signed up to do, and
Mm-hmm.
that's help them be the best version of themselves on and off the court. And you can still be close, and you can still be a family. And then there's other variables to it. There's outside noise, outside people saying, "Hey, this is the best situation for you. You can't say no to this."
Right.
And that can negate everything else. Whether it's fit, whether it's relationship, all that stuff doesn't matter when you're starting to make, at the end of the day, business decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Business decisions negate relationship feelings.
And you guys are about to get here now into the thick of the Missouri Valley Conference season. Guys, we got Coach David Ragland on here today from University of Evansville men's basketball. Um, Anything you've learned about your team? I know it's a lot of turnover, as we said.
Right.
Going to be a competitive Valley season, as it always is. But anything you're kind of honing in on with this particular squad? And I know you had a couple guys coming back, but mostly it's just kind of a new cover.
Yeah, no, for the most part, it's a new group. We had three guys that played, significant minutes last year
Hmm.
that returned. There's some other guys that are playing a decent amount of minutes that are finding their footing in collegiate sports and in the Missouri Valley. One thing that I felt was good for us, and we'll see how it continues to matriculate, was our non-conference schedule was extremely tough. Played against a lot of teams that were senior heavy, that were very physical, that could shoot it well, that was
Hmm.
pretty good in transition. And, it made our team aware, I feel like, of, how important it is to be urgent in transition, to be physical without fouling, to embrace some physicality, to get to the next play, to defend a three, but also guard your yard, keep your man in front of you, and then protect the paint. So, you hope those experiences, really, really help you out in league play. I think it's going to be a really good, hard fought league schedule. We have a lot. I mean, we're the 10th best league in the country by metrics.
Hmm.
So that tells you about the competition. It tells you about, the players we have in our league, the coaches we have in our league, the commitment that our administrations have in this league to make it a very prominent basketball league.
Hmm.
So we just have to get better every single day and bring it every single night. Know that we're going to be in a dogfight and we got to do whatever it takes to pull away with a win. Just got to be 1 point better than the other team, and we're going to try to do what we can to make sure that happens.
It's your third year at U of E. Is there a couple squads that you feel like have had a lot of continuity and are kind of doing well? Maybe have set kind of a program standard. I mean, a couple of teams come to my mind, but what have you seen from maybe a couple of teams in the conference that maybe some other teams in the conference might be kind of trying to emulate?
Right. Well, I mean, it's tough, right? Because most of our uh, guys that had an opportunity to come back that started, that were first team, second team, whatever,
Hmm.
have left. So there's a lot of turnover with a lot of different teams. And we played Missouri State last night, and they have a completely different team, completely different coach and staff and all that. So there's been a lot of turnover throughout our league in terms of coaches and rosters. Ben Jacobson is, my mind, like the Godfather, right? He's been doing it for a long time, 20 plus years at Northern Iowa.
Hmm.
Does a really good job putting his guys in positions to be successful offensively. Will defend you and guard you on the defensive end. make things very, very, very difficult for you. So he's kind of the standard in my mind. The other person has been there for a while is Wardle, and he's done a great job at Bradley. Those teams defend you. They're very physical. It's extremely hard to play in Peoria. But I mean they're very, very competitive, really good. And then Drake has kind of set the standard, right? I think their administration, their AD, is really, really good. I've known him, for a little while, but he does a good job just setting the culture, and they've been able to have a coaching change and still stay at the level that's been created. So the administration's done a great job there at Drake. And they've hired, they had a really good coach in DeVries and hired a really good coach in Ben that they have now. So they kind of figured out the blueprint. Um, and I would say, Belmont, with as much turnover that they've had, continue to stay competitive. They have a style of play that they recruit to,
Hmm.
and they have their niche, which is very important.
Hmm.
I think everyone has to be able to do that, find your niche. So those are the teams that I would name, and Murray State. Prom has been there before.
Hmm.
Left, now he's back, and I think they're doing a really good job investing into their programs. So across the board, it's a really good league.
Yep.
But I would say in terms of like consistency, those teams that I named have kind of found their niche, or their coaches have been there, like Wardle and Jacobson, for quite some time.
And then, Coach, I know you've been doing your thing in Evansville now for this your third season. What can you tell me, maybe a name or two for like a mentor or someone you might go to every once in a while for like some advice, whether it's a text or a call, like someone like that who might be helping you in these the coaching ranks.
Man, I'm very, very fortunate. Have done it for a while, that I have a number of people that I can call. Because we're all busy, and
Hmm.
sometimes if guys have games, I always try to check schedules. I see if
Yeah.
people are playing. Whenever I need to vent or ask questions, I have a few people that I can call, and obviously, coach under some really, really good coaches. The first one that gave me my start in the Division I ranks was Greg Lansing, who was head coach at Indiana State
Hmm.
for a while. He's always somebody that I can reach out to. Spent a little time at Valpo, which is also in the league. So I still talk to Matt Loddick. Then I spent some time at Utah State. Who is kind of like Drake has.
Hmm.
We started something really, really special at Utah State under Craig Smith, and they've been able to now, three coaches later, keep that same type of commitment to excellence and production on the court at a high level. So I still talk to Craig, and I spent some time with Laval Jordan at Butler. Talk to him, but
Hmm.
Chris Lowry is from Evansville. Was at one time the head coach at Southern Illinois.
Yep.
He's another person I can reach out to when I need to. But very fortunate to have a lot of people in my corner
Hmm.
uh, that maybe other people don't know, that reach out with a timely phone call or
Hmm.
message, or I'm able to call and get back to center, so to speak. But very fortunate to grow some great relationships with some really good people that basketball brings you closer to a lot of people, and I've been able to form some great friendships throughout my time.
Coach, you mentioned Chris Lowry. Where were you at, or what were you doing in your career when they went to the Sweet 16? You remember that?
Yeah, I was actually my first year of coaching college basketball. I was at Frank Phillips College,
Okay.
uh, because I want to say they ended up playing in St. Louis, or maybe I know they were in St. Louis, and I saw him in St. Louis at that time.
Hmm.
But yeah, I remember that team really, really well.
Good one.
I obviously always followed Coach Lowry.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually just with Rodney Watson, who does some stuff with Southern Illinois. Um, they coached together for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and Matt Painter is a good friend of mine, and Paul Lusk, who Chris Lowry played with at Southern Illinois. Both of them coached me at Missouri Southern.
Very
Uh,
cool. Yep.
so a couple gray hairs that they have, I could take credit for that.
You take
But no,
own
just
it.
yeah, really, really, really good people, and I remember exactly where I was at during that time.
And then, Coach, I want to take you back to your playing days again. We'll cap it on that.
Yeah.
What were some of the best players that you had duels with, whether it was in high school and college? Like, can you name drop some describe some of those experiences?
Yeah, I will go back to high school first. We were fortunate enough to my senior year of high school to go to the semi-state. We ended up getting beat by North Central, who ended up winning it all. And Jason Gardner was their
Mm-hmm.
main player who ended up going to Arizona, having a really good career. I've been reminded once I went back to Butler, that there was another Gardner on that team,
Okay.
Nick Gardner, who actually played at Butler, and then he does radio, he does play-by-play for them. He's like, there was another Gardner that was on that team, so he reminded me that as soon as I got there. Really good guy, but there he played on an AAU team. Jason Gardner did,
Mm-hmm.
called No Excuses, and their team it was him, it was Brody Boyd, who went to Iowa, played at Iowa, uh, Zach Randolph, um, we all know Zach Randolph, John
Zebo. Shout out to
Zebo,
Zebo.
yeah, a guy named John Stewart, who unfortunately passed away in '99. Um, was supposed to go to Kentucky, 7-footer. I mean, he was good, good. But played against them in high school, AAU. Had some really, really good teams. The one name that I will never forget, kind of embarrassed to say this, but I'm gonna say it. Like wherever this guy is at, I'm gonna look him up once we get off this call now.
Okay.
Marlon Palmer played for Kentucky Wesley, and I was at USI at the time. And this dude had 30 points and 15 rebounds on me at halftime.
Oh. Oh.
Yes. I was like, and at the
Hmm.
time, so I'm pretty sure Bruce Pearl started this where the starters could kind of they can sub themselves in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Rick Curtis, my head coach, took over, he kept that same, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And so I started at the time. And at halftime, I told my backup, "Hey man, you got it." Like I can't do anything with this. So
Yep.
yeah, man, that was a name that I'll never forget because he took me to school.
Yeah. I'm sure you're just like, well, that I can't do nothing. You give it a shot. You might do
Yeah,
better, do a lot better
yeah.
than
Good
that.
luck. I'll be on the bench praying for you.
Yeah. Well, guys, it was great having Coach David Ragland on, third year coach with the University of Evansville Aces. They have a game coming up. They're getting in the thick of the Missouri Valley Conference on Wednesday, and they play Indiana State on Saturday. Coach, it's great to have you today. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Happy holidays to you.
All right, and then so one last take here, or a little bit of info on the college football playoff. Um, it's been interesting to see kind of how things are coming out. I did get interested by this take from Dan Patrick. Go ahead and subscribe to his podcast out there. It's great. A lot of good interviews out there and a lot of good information that he's dropping and takes that he has. He wasn't something that really caught my eye the other day was when he was talking about how it was actually just today on his show, the Dan Patrick show, talking about how he doesn't like the commentators kind of like piggybacking on wins or losses or blowouts or close games for some of these teams in the college football playoff, not being a big fan of people saying, see, I told you, even though that take where they say, they defend a team for blowing out another team, or one team gets blown out and they dogpile on that team, is Dan Patrick was saying, you might as well go ahead and get that out before the game. Don't give me it revisionist history after the game. And I couldn't agree with him more. I think he's right. I also think it's interesting that people are getting mad about blowouts in the college football playoff. But, I don't think that that's an indicator of why someone belongs or not. That's really like a common hot take these days. It's kind of lazy reporting, and kind of just not my cup of tea. But I think the quarterfinal round has been interesting. Obviously, you had Ohio State blowing out Oregon. You had Texas beating Arizona State in overtime. And then you had Penn State beating Boise State, which a lot of people picked. A lot of people picked Penn State to get to the Final Four, the semifinal, if you will, just based off of what they've brought to the table this year, and also really more so into what their draw was, which was playing against Boise State, and in that first game they played against SMU. So just kind of how the cookie crumbled for them in this draw, and I think the committee will probably tweak some things, but we do have to remember that this is a first take on a new 12-team playoff. But until these things get ironed out, here's my take. You cannot add more teams to the playoff. You can't make it 16, you can't make it 18, you can't make it 24, 32, 64 when you don't really work out the kinks from a 12-teamer. So that's something that I think needs to be ironed out, and hopefully it will be. And then as I'm taping this episode, right now, Georgia and Notre Dame are currently playing. That game was delayed after, let's just call it a terrorist attack there in New Orleans on New Year's Eve. So, shout out to New Orleans and everyone there going through that. It's brutal. Really sad that that's happening, that tragic event. But yeah, we'll see kind of what people want to observe about Ohio, Notre Dame, and Georgia going through this game. And I do think Georgia's going to win. My prediction before the game coming in was a low-scoring game won by Georgia. I said 17-3. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe I'm completely off base, but we'll find out. So, but definitely going to be a great semifinal. You're going to have Oregon at the top. Ohio State at the top, playing Texas, and then Penn State versus this winner. We'll kind of see what happens. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And please subscribe to my podcast. Please subscribe on YouTube. Like my social media. Follow my social media. You guys keep me coming back.